Hello, this is Ronnie. In this video we're gonna look at some of the most useful array methods in JavaScript. As you can see right here in this HTML document, I have a very basic structure on what we're gonna be covering in this video. So to start with, we're gonna be reviewing all of these methods from the array object. And remember that on every new array that you create, on every new instance, you're gonna have all of this and many other methods available because of the array prototype chain. Okay, so right here you can see the HTML code for that very basic document, and it doesn't have any strange code or something relevant. It's just very basic h tags, an ordered list, list items, spans, divs, and very basic stuff. And right here on the right hand side, you're gonna be able to look at also very basic CSS structure that I used to style the document. Okay, so nothing relevant here. So going back to the main document, we're gonna be looking at how to manage, how to modify, mutate, or um, manipulate some arrays in JavaScript. So we're gonna be starting with an array called myArray just of numbers, and then we're gonna be working with my a new array with just strings that I call myString array. Okay, so we're gonna start with my array in this case. Okay, so as you can see, um, it doesn't have any different code that you might not now actually, so you should be able to be very familiar with this. And right here with the block of colors, this is some sort of graphical representation of how array elements are stored in memory. So as you can see, every single color represents an element, and in this case the first element through the 10th element are independent blocks. And as you can see also, and remember as well, every element in JavaScript has an index, and this index starts at the 0 position. So that means that the first element is going to be having the 0 index, the second element is going to be having the first index, the third element is going to be having the second index, and so forth up to the 10th element is going to be having the ninth index. Okay, so if I say, for example, my array and use the index notation, say for example number 4, so I'm looking at the 4th position of the indexes, and I'm gonna have the number 5 of these elements. Okay, so this is just like a refresher on how to access the elements on any basic array in JavaScript. Alright, so we're gonna start with the push method. This method is very basic and extremely useful. It's gonna help us to insert a new element at the end of the array. So the last element in this array is the number 10, and if we call myArray that push, that number 17 is gonna push a new element to this existing array right here. So it's gonna create a new index, number 10, with the 17 value. Alright, so the previous length was 10, and the new length is gonna be 11. So the push method returns the new length, as you can see here on the Mozilla Developer Network documentation. So it returns the new length for the array. Okay, so that's everything that is required to work with the push method. And remember that you can also use push different values in one single line, just separating every new value by commas. So 18th, 19th, we just added the 17th, and it's gonna return the new length. And also, if we look at the array, it's gonna include our new element. Okay, so this is very basic stuff, but extremely useful. You're gonna be dealing with pushing new elements to arrays probably every single day. Okay, so the pop function, in this case, the pop method, I'm sorry, in this case, is gonna allow us to remove an element. In this case, the last element of an array. Okay, so if we call myArray.pop, this doesn't take any parameters. It's gonna remove the last element, and after execution, it's gonna return us the element that was just removed. Okay, so if we inspect myArray again, you can check that it doesn't have the uh, element with the value number with the value 19. Okay, if we continue to call pop, it's gonna be removing the last element of the array. So we just remove this one and 17, and now if we inspect the array once again, we have the original values. Alright, so it's very useful as well. So um, the next one is gonna be the shift method, which is gonna allow us to remove one element of the array, but in this case it's not gonna be the last but the first one. Okay, so this is gonna start from left to right according to this graphic right here. So if we call myArray.shift also without any argument, it's gonna remove the first element. As you can see, it just removed the number 1, and also gonna return the element that was just removed. Okay, so if we call once again the shift method, it's gonna remove the number 2, as you can see it did. And if we inspect my array once again, number 1 and 2 are no longer available on the array because they were just removed by the shift method. So very basic and easy to use as well. Alright, so now we have the onShift method, which is gonna help us to insert new items to the array, but it won't do it at the end as push does. Alright, push inserts new elements at the very end, but in shift insert the new elements at the beginning. So if I say 1 and 2, you can also insert just one element. This is gonna give us the new length of the array, which is 10, and if we inspect my array once again, we have the sequence at the very beginning. Okay, so also this is very useful. Now there's gonna be methods that allow us to mutate any array in JavaScript. They're gonna be adding or removing elements. Okay, at the beginning and at the end of any array. So right here we have this extremely useful methods that I actually use almost every single day. So these are called iterators methods somehow, right? That give us allow us to iterate over every single element in a JavaScript array. Okay, so say for example we want to traverse this array, we're going to be using the for each method. The for each method is going to take a callback function, and this callback function is going to take one argument and optional these two additional arguments as well. So let's take a look at how we could work with this for each method. And also something very important to note is that the for each method doesn't change. I'm sorry, the for each method does change the array's values. So this is mutation method. It's gonna allow us to modify the array's values. Okay, so if we say my array that for each we're gonna be using old AS5 function right here, and we're gonna work with the item that we're gonna be iterating on, and we're gonna work with the index as well. Okay, so let's say that we want to console.log the index that we're having at the moment. We're gonna concatenate with the item at the moment. Okay, so this should give us a sequence of showing the index starting from 0, and at the right side showing the item that we have at the moment. As you can see, it does what is expected to do, so it's gonna just give us a representation of how the elements are um, are saved with their corresponding index in memory. Okay, but we can do whatever we want with these items. We can change them, we can manipulate every single element as we want to. Alright, so that is regarding the for each. The for each allow us to iterate over every single element in an array and make any changes that we would like to do or whatever with that particular item and index. Okay, so now let's take a look at the other method, which is the map method. And this is one that I used almost all the time over the other two. Okay, so the map method is going to allow us as well to iterate over the entire array, but instead of mutating or modifying the original array, this is going to return a new array, so we can leave the original array intact and make any modification or changes to the array that we just returned. Alright, so say for example I want to work with a new array. Okay, so first of all we need to have an array that we're gonna be iterating from, and this is my array. We're gonna be mapping this, and we're gonna use the arrow functions, okay, from ES6, and we're gonna be working just with the value that we are currently having. So at the very first iteration we're gonna be having the element 1, then the element 2, and so forth. Alright, so if we say that we want to increase the item that we're having by 2, let's say that we want the item plus 2. So we don't need to use the return statement in this arrow function, because remember that in arrow function we have an implicit return statement. Okay, so if we now inspect the new array, you're gonna see that we have 10 elements, and every single element was increased by 2, as we stated right here. Okay, so the best thing of this is that the original array, it keeps its elements untouched, okay, without any changes or any modifications. So the original array stays as it was at the very beginning. So this is the one of the most benefit of using map over for each. Okay, so now we're gonna work with the last one, which is filter, but in this case we're gonna use the my string array so we can see how we can work with string arrays. Okay, so the filter method is gonna allow us to set a condition within the callback, which is this, and all the elements that match that condition are gonna be returned into a new array. Okay, so for that we need to we would like to create a new array, strings filter. We're gonna use names filter. Okay, so we use my string array. We're gonna use the filter method. Once again, we're gonna use the arrow function on this. So it's gonna be very easy, this one. So we're gonna try to filter all the names that have more than 4 letters. Okay, so let's say that we want to have the item, and remember that the item is gonna be the variable is gonna hold every single element on every iteration. Okay, so the first iteration is gonna be Brad, the second is gonna be Jason, third is gonna be Jane, and so forth. The last one's gonna be Allison. Okay, so we want the item length to be greater than 4. Okay, so if we take a look now at the names filtered, you're gonna see that we just have 3 elements on this one. Okay, so that is the power of this method. And just before letting you go, we're gonna use an awesome um, benefit of using this method, because we can chain one method returning a new array. We can chain an additional method on that new array in one single line. So let's see that we want to create a new variable called filters, and if we did this, we're gonna be having 3 names, right? So it's gonna be having Jason, Zara, and Allison. But now if we just want to say we want to apply a different filter, we can perfectly do it. So we just say filter new item, and now we're gonna return the item with the length greater than 5. Okay, so if we did this and apply the filters, it's just gonna give us Allison. Alright, so hopefully this video was helpful for you, and I really encourage you to take a look at the MDM documentation and also practice as much as you can. Alright, so thank you for your time, and I wish you to have a great day.